What is shaking, everybody? Welcome to the Tom Tolbert Show. It's always a distinct pleasure to have one of my favorites join the show. In previous iterations, of course. This is a new show, and this is the first time he's joined this show. Frank Caliendo, one of the funniest guys I know, the first and foremost impressionist alive today. I guess I'd have to go back to Little to be maybe the first impressionist. Would that be
Uh,
correct?
I don't know about that. I think there are a lot of really good people doing impressions right now, and I think the internet is the reason you get to see lots of people. There are people on Saturday Night Live, and I'm just thinking of people off the top of my head, like Jay Farrow and stuff like that. So there are quite a few
Yeah.
people that you see. Used to be Saturday Night Live would have the premier impressionist of the time. Like if you go back to the cartoon
Yeah.
version of impressions, Dana Carvey would be that. Then Daryl
Yep.
Hammond. Before those guys, probably Phil Hartman. Even though he was like Will Ferrell, where he would make you believe he was anybody, even if he didn't sound exactly like him.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's lots of people on the internet now, and I think it's a great time to learn how to do impressions because the subject matter is always there in front of you. When I was coming up, when I worked at Mad TV, when I was on a sketch show in the early 2000s, if you wanted to watch some type of material about, an impression, a character, or something like that, you had to order it from somebody. There was a guy named Dylan at the Mad TV office. He didn't even have a last name. He was like Madonna and or Jordan. Maybe he was Dylan Jordan.
What did he play? They play
Yeah, yeah,
soccer for
yeah.
Brazil?
So, so
Okay.
he just you'd ask for stuff, and then he'd order it. And a couple days later, you get a VHS tape with something either he recorded on a DVR or they would call, get some
Wow.
central type of thing. But now you can just watch any person over and over and over on YouTube or any other type of social media. So it makes it a lot better for you if you're studying a person, if you can get all these different situations a person is in, whether it's an interview, a character in a movie, or whatever, and just watch all those different iterations of the same person and add that into what you're doing with your impression.
Well, I always thought what made you different wasn't just the impression, it was the voice put in maybe a different setting than you would mm, generally see that person, while using some of the same vernacular that you would hear
Yeah.
them use, like the same kind of words and the same tempo and the voice, but it'd be something that maybe you would never hear, Bill Walton talk
Is
about or
there
Barkley
anything Bill
talk about.
Walton
I, I
might
mean,
not
I
talk
always,
about though? Is there something that
well, that is a great point.
I mean, you worked how long did you work with him?
I work with Bill well, we did games together for a
Oh,
year,
really?
but we were together at ESPN for quite a while. And I mean, look, I've known Bill since I've been younger, growing up on the West Coast and following the Clippers. He was actually the color commentator for the Clippers when I played for the Clippers, and he's uttered some of the greatest lines in the history of sports broadcasting. And they're local, so people wouldn't know, wouldn't
But
hear him. But the line, "Oh, where would the Clippers be without Keith Kloss?" I'm like,
I
what?
remember you telling me that story about doing a
Never
game
had
with
her.
him, and it was there were like three Hall of Famers on the court, and he's like, "There's nobody better than Howard Isley right now on this court. He's the greatest player in the
Yeah.
history of Western civilization." Just the way he would say like it's obvious that that was not the case, but Bill, I think he talked himself into it in his head, or he went off on a trip somewhere where it was actually true, and then he
uh,
came back. I've just been in another civilization, a different time, a different place, understanding that the multiverse of madness is real, and that's what this is all about. Call me Doctor Strange because I am the one with the amulet. Uh, so I I'm pretty good friends with
uh,
Dave Pash, who worked with him for years, and we
yeah.
were just in we crossed paths in Italy, and we were in Umbria, Italy, and there's this little town called Gubbio, and I'm just walking around talking to Dave, as Bill Walton. How great is this? The 13th century. It's still around. Look at the architecture. This is better than the saguaro cacti there in Tucson, Arizona. And I never thought anything could be as beautiful. So it is fun. Missing it, we definitely miss Bill Wall. He
Yeah.
would bring people to shows and come and see me, and yeah, oh, yeah,
Did he
it was
really?
fun to do games with him. But just to talk to him behind the scenes, and he would when I met him, it was a charity event in San Diego, and they didn't want me to do an impression of him. They're like, "Well, Bill's here and his back is sore." I'm like, let me just give it a shot. They didn't really know, they didn't know him. They just thought he might not like it. I'm like, let me try. And if he doesn't like
Yeah.
it, I'll take the hit. And they're like, okay. I go up there and I'm doing, I'm probably talking about Detlef Schrempf, which is what you got me hooked on. And, Detlef
Oh,
Schrempf.
get a rebound, shrimp.
6'10", and look at that haircut. Unbelievable. Is he the Terminator? No, he's the Worminator, wiggling his way to more three-pointers. So I go up and I do something about the greatest in the history of Western civilization or whatever I do. Remember being at Berkeley, blotching a beard, connecting on my feet, something like that, some bit. And the room
Yeah.
gets kind of quiet. And then you look to the back, Bill stands up, hilarious, unbelievable. So it was, he got, and we hit it off really well afterward. He brought some people out to shows, like I said. So he's one of those guys that got it.
Look, not only do I was gonna say, not only do we miss Bill because, I was in contact with Bill occasionally. He came on the show. He had one and well, every time he came on, it was epic, but the one time he came on, 40 straight minutes, and I asked 3 questions, and one of those
Yeah.
questions was,
Yeah.
"How
Well,
are you?
I did a podcast
How
with,
are
I,
you?"
yeah,
And, Bill, Bill, you doing good?" That was it, and Bill just went and did his "Fire on the mountain, fire!"
I did a podcast with, I didn't get the 3 questions. Great job, Tom, to get the 3 questions. I did a podcast with him,
You were saying you did a
I
podcast
did
with
a
him?
podcast with him
Yep.
with my friend John Holmberg.
You didn't?
And we did a podcast. We got
Yeah.
maybe one question in. A plane went overhead behind him, wherever he was, and he thought it was a pterodactyl. And then there were all kinds of Grateful Dead references, and that went way over my head.
Yeah.
And 45 minutes later, the Earth
Uh
was still on its axis, doing whatever it needed to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, no, we don't just miss him, everybody should miss a guy like that because he loved life, he loved people, he loved basketball, he just loved being a
Well,
part of
when he
everything, and
passed
I just
away,
miss seeing him.
Tom, when he passed away, nobody talked about basketball. They all talked about him as a human being.
I know.
That was
I know.
unbelievable. Like, there was a little bit of
Mhm.
basketball highlights, but all people had to do was talk about how great he was and how much he did, little things that nobody knew that he did. And biking all
Yep.
over the country was another thing.
Loved biking. Loved biking. So what resonates for you when you're thinking about a voice to do? Is it the people that have a distinct obviously, you gotta be well known, but what
But
is it
let me
about,
cut you off there. You don't have to be as
Morgan
well
Free
known as you used to be. It
Oh,
used to
okay,
be that everybody had to know who you are to be able to do an impression of the
okay,
person, because there was no way to share it with people who were super fans of that particular person. Now there's all types of chat
okay,
rooms or boards or whatever, uh, different types of social media platforms that people can just send stuff to other people and they'll send stuff to more. So you can hit somebody who's just really well known to a certain group, and that can go off the rail. That can go crazy. That
huh,
could be millions of views on something that's broad that everybody knows, nobody cares about. But something that is
huh,
very specific. For one, I don't really do much with it because I can't really say other words. But I did a thing with Better Call Saul where I would do Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do. Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. And people who know that show really would like that or they'd comment on it or whatever.
Yeah.
But that show, as great as it is, one of my favorite shows of all time, if not my favorite.
Great show.
That and Breaking Bad are two of my favorite shows of all time. That was a pretty niche audience overall compared to, I don't know, American Idol in its heyday or something like that. I don't
Yeah.
even know if there's anything besides sports that's that way. So what do I look for? I look for, to get back on track. I Waltoned you there. So what I look for is a cadence first. Is there a speech pattern for a person, or did they make a sound or noise in between words? Like when you're saying with Walton, there is,
Yeah.
oh, what
Oh.
in the world? There's You can get into a sentence just by making the sound too, or the sound can be take the place of a pause and fill that moment. And it's a familiarity of what the person does. So those are the things that you really look for because you don't have to get the pitch exactly right. How many Christopher Walkens have you heard? High,
Yeah.
low, in the middle. Doesn't matter because you know that cadence, right? You know he's ignoring punctuation.
Yeah.
You don't need it. Why? Why would you need a period there? I don't speak that way. I don't. Not at all. There. I didn't even use a comma when I should have. Why would I? And there's cadences like Samuel L. Jackson, which I can't get 100%, but I know the cadence of Samuel L. Jackson. Da 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 da. So you know what that is. You can add
Yeah.
the words, and
Uh-huh.
a couple of them you can't say everywhere. So that, but that's,
Yeah.
I will strike down upon thee, da 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 da, and it's just that cadence gets you going. And Jeff Goldblum's another one that's like that. Ah, yes, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Why? Ooh, my favorite letter. Why? Ooh, which is a question and a letter. It's a vowel, but is it? No, not always. A-E-I-O-U, and sometimes why? Ooh, that's two O's. That's a pair of vowels. That's, is that a diphthong? No, no, it's not. It's not. It's not a love grammar. I do. So, and my new thing with Goldblum is he just thinks out loud. He's like a tour guide and a tourist at the same time. It's like, ooh, what's that? What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you asked. It's the Statue of Liberty. Very good. Ooh, yeah. So
Now, do you feel like you have to do a president? Is that just like a given,
I do,
or
and I'll tell you why. Because
is
the
it some?
presidents are known by everybody. That's the one that is known. That is the entity that's known across the board. And usually
Yeah.
there is some type of emotion tied one way or the other to that, to give a president, somewhere close to 50-50 both ways, right? So it's, I mean, the whole point of social media too is, or not the whole point, but what happens in social media, the way to go viral is get people arguing in the comments. If you, and anytime you do
Yeah.
something political, and my politics, quote unquote, are the most non-political politics. It's just I do the stuff about the character and the cadence and how they talk, as
Yep.
opposed to uh, trying to talk about some type of policy, because that's just not. I do a lot of corporate shows and stuff like that, and I would be doing a lot less corporate
Uh-huh.
shows if I did into that. And that's selling out,
Yeah,
absolutely.
this is
I'll
true.
sell out for as long as I can.
Yeah.
But I do like whispery Trump. I do the quiet Donald Trump, the one where you articulate all of the, and you got to get the hands going. You got to get the tremendous hands. And look at the size of those hands. They're very big. They're very big. But it's library Trump. They're very, very quiet. So those are the, it's, there's a different iteration of Trump right now where people do that that big type of thing, and almost
Yeah.
everybody does that. Say, when I try to do something different than what everybody else is doing, so, and just because I like my impressions to be they have to have a character to them, so they're not just mimicry. What is the point of view of the character?
Yeah. Have you ever done the presidents? Because I know you've done most of them probably in the last 20, 30 years. Presidents arguing over sports topics. like different presidents, yeah, taking a side on NBA free agency
Yeah,
or
I
maybe even Aaron
I always have these
Rodgers.
grand ideas. It's weird when you mix the sports and politics stuff, even though they're just political characters. People
Yep.
start to get they yeah,
Do
yeah,
they
yeah. I
really?
mean, it's I have I every once in a while I have this grand idea that I'm going to do that type of thing with some mundane or something that's in the news. I know it could. I know if not one could get picked up. If I do 10 of them, maybe let's say 20 of them, one of them's going to hit and do pretty well. You know what I mean? So, but then I
Yeah.
start going, do I really want the backlash on some of this? And I do a lot of that type of stuff, but
Yeah.
I know I could get a lot. And everybody does a Trump now, though, too. So it's like it's
Yeah. Yeah.
at a time I did Trump with Trump at Trump Tower in like 2007 for a Fox
Did you
Sports
really?
bit. Yeah, it was like
Wow.
at one of the lines. I don't know if it made it in or not because I never watched what I did, but I remember we cut it, and the joke at the beginning was, "I've decided to run for president. Now I've decided to not run for president. Now I've decided to not run for president. Now I've decided to not run for president, and I'm not even sure if I'm running anymore." You know, so it was that kind of thing, and we're halfway through the sketch, or we go through one shoot it a little bit. Something goes wrong with the camera move, and they go reset, and Trump like looks around the room. Is this good? Is this good? Is this funny? Is this good? And everybody's like, "Yes, Mr. Trump, fantastic, Mr. Trump, it's great, Mr. Trump." I was like, "Wait. Does anybody ever tell you something isn't good?" He's no, Frank, and that's part of the problem. I can't get real answers. I'm like, "Wow, you really should run for president." He's like, great idea. So
So coaches, my two favorite coaches that you do are, of course,
right.
Madden. I mean, Madden's just the best, but Gruden too. Gruden, because if you throw in a couple knock on woods and are you with me, and you get the
Tell you
eyebrow,
what,
hey
man,
man,
that's a
I
really
love
good
football.
idea right there, Tommy Tolbert. I remember when you were just Mr. T, not the original Mr. T. You were Mr. T there. Are you still Mr. T? You still doing that? You got the gold chains and stuff like that. Hey, if the crew, if the A team wants to take you on a helicopter ride, you're afraid of going on a helicopter? They're gonna give you a hamburger that's juiced up, man. They're gonna do that. They're gonna knock you out for a little while. I'll tell you what, man. I love Tommy Tolbert. Knocked out. I don't know if they do that anymore on television. You know, I love Hannibal. Hannibal always loved it when the
It's almost
plan came together, man. Great coach, Hannibal Smith. I love that guy, George Papard.
I, it's almost like Gruden, through his barstool stuff and being on social media, has become a character of who he actually is. Like, just, oh, look at this great box I got here, man. The California Golden Bears, man. These guys are Ron Rivera, man. Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers had a
I just watch him like,
4.5 grade point average in his second year there, man. A lot of people were overlooking Aaron Rodgers, but it turns out he's going to become the greatest thrower of the football in the entire history of Western civilization. Not to say something that much different than the great Bill Walton would have, who's also California, but nothing to do. UCLA, I love UCLA, the Bruins, man. Yeah, and then he'll get a box like that barstool stuff is so great because I texted him when he first went there. I go, "This is awesome, man." I'm like, "This is great." He's like, "I have no idea what I'm doing." I go, "Just keep doing all the stuff you're doing because everything you do is complete gold because you don't give a rip. It's just you just go out there. Like
yeah,
he
exactly.
will wear an ad for something. Like he'll wear a Pizza Hut thing. He'll have a Pizza Hut patch on his shirt while wearing a Papa John's hat. He'll have two different. He'll have two different advertisers
Two
at
competing
the same
pizza
time
companies.
and not say anything about it, man, because I just love pizza. I love pizza, man. Anything you can eat in a triangle, I'm gonna eat that, man. You know, I love burgers, but I don't love them like I love pizza. You know why? Because you start at the smallest tip and you work your way to the outside. You ever hear of the Pythagorean theorem, man? You ever hear of that? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I'll tell you what, man, C squared, it's a little longer than I thought it was gonna be. Yeah, but
he,
I love Pythagoras, man. That
if I
guy
were
had a
him,
great
I'd never go
he had
back into
great
coaching.
ideas, man. Pythagoras, when he started out, man, people were like, "You're not going to go anywhere." Kind of like Darren Wall. They were worried. They're not sure what's going to happen with him. Then he gets picked. We work with him. I tell you what, man, Pythagoras, he took over, man.
Pythagoras. Oh my god. Oh, I love it. It's funny that you say that. It's hilarious you brought that up because I always bring that up just for no good reason. I'm like, "Do you ever check out this Pythagoras guy? Like, this is like really big stuff. A squared plus. I don't know what it means, and I don't know what the but I just know it's a big deal, right? It's a big deal. That one, and I always throw in an Occam's razor
Occam's
in there
razor, man.
just to throw. I don't even know who Occam is, but I know he had a razor, and I know it was like the simplest idea or the simplest explanation usually is the
And
right one.
speaking of
I just
razors,
throw
you
those
ever
in there
try the
occasionally.
Mach 4? I'll tell you what, man. They just sent me a box full of razor blades. This is worth over $250 billion right here.
Oh man. So like him, he's great, but I mean, did it all get started with
Yeah, yeah,
Madden?
yeah.
Is that kind of
The
where it got
Madden stuff, because nobody was really doing that, especially nationally. I think some people did a Madden impression. There had to be people doing them somewhere. But when I got it on TV, I remember a news program. We did something on Mad TV that was Madden explaining the war in the Middle East or something like that, and it got picked up by some news station, and that's what started pretty big. And then doing it on the NFL on Fox with Kimmel. When Kimmel was there, he had me in, and we did Madden for President. And he took a pair of hedge clippers to the
Mhm.
Madden eyebrows I was wearing. If social media had been around back then, that would have been massively large. That would have been one of those types of things like, oh my God, they took a pair of hedge clippers to John Madden's eyebrows. Hilarious, right? So, but those were the things. Kim will get me on that with the NFL on Fox, which is in front of the correct audience, the football audience,
Yep.
and the Mad TV stuff. Uh, so yeah, Madden was definitely because nobody was doing anything like that. And then I just took, I would cite a guy named John Campanera, who's a great comedian in his own right, a Chicago comic, legendary Chicago comic, who was actually one of the first people to do a Harry Carey. He even sounded like Harry Carey when he would regularly talk. Um, a little bit, but he had this. He's if you ever hear somebody like that, the bit Capillary, used to do, hey, look at the kid in the sombrero, right? That that uh, that was him, and so he told me explain the jokes. Explain. You got John Madden. Explain all the jokes. So I did a little bit of that at the beginning, and then he opened my eyes to I should explain all the jokes. So that's what my act became a joke that wasn't designed for everybody to laugh, so I could explain stuff with John Madden. You done it once, do it 100 times. It'll go crazy. So I started doing that all the time, and then when Madden was gone, I changed that too because I always liked that concept of looking in on my own act as somebody else and commenting, and I turned it into Morgan Freeman
Yeah.
narrating stuff in my act, and that's when the audience realized Frank Caliendo had no idea what he was talking about. That type of thing would go in to where Mad would have explained, just get out over this over here and that over there, and then boom. I mean, that's where it's supposed to be funny. So those types of things. I always like that when some people are like, when you have to explain a joke as a comedian, it's not a very good joke. I'm like, well, unless that's the joke, unless the joke is I don't want you to get the joke
Yes.
on purpose, so I can explain it. That's pretty much my whole. That's pretty much my whole act, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, no, that can be used as a vehicle for laughter. That's one of my look, comedians, some are really funny, some aren't, whatever. There's so many of them out there. But the worst, and really funny comedians do this, they'll tell you this is a really funny joke. And then I'll explain it to you how it's going to work. And I'm like, well, if your joke's that fucking funny, then you shouldn't have to explain to me how genius you are. They get 10, 15 seconds to explain how their genius works. And then I'm supposed to look at it and go, oh, okay. That's, and it wasn't part of the bit. That's when you
Right.
lose me. I don't need you to tell me how smart you are. I'm here to see you. And if something doesn't work, and then you got to explain it to show how smart you are, then I don't know. I
Well,
just
see,
get
here's the
taken out at
thing:
that point.
nothing I do is smart, so I don't ever have to worry about that.
Well, I'm not
Right.
talking about
So I'm just
you.
saying, I don't ever run into that problem because what I'm doing is so simplistic that even I sometimes go, what is happening here? How am I pulling this off?
Oh, because you're really good at what you
I
do.
guess.
And again, it's not just the impressions, it's the comedy that goes with the impressions. A lot of people can do impressions, but you gotta be a comedian, you gotta have some timing, and you gotta have some good thoughts in your head to pull it off. Where'd the Morgan Freeman come from? Because that one's so like he's the one guy. If anybody wanted to have a voice, like a navigational voice in their car, although I chose Walton. We did it one day. I'm like, I gotta have Walton do my voice in my car. Oh, I'm sorry. I was listening to the Dead. The left 2 miles back. Take a Yui. Like, but Morgan Freeman's the guy. What? How did he just become all of a sudden become the guy? He's been around forever. Over the last 10 years, he's the guy
Yeah,
now.
I had it a little bit. It was one of the like I had a set of impressions I'd done, and then a couple new things I was looking for. Actually, I think one of the main things that happened was Mike and Mike at the time, they were looking for somebody to read that or something to read that LeBron letter to do something with that LeBron letter. And
Oh,
I think I
okay.
had it a little bit before then, but then I read that thing as Morgan Freeman and it went crazy viral at the time for what it was. I mean, Fallon even played it for Morgan Freeman that day on the show. So I think I'd been doing it some before
Did
that,
he
but that was one
really?
of those things that took it. But the reason I started doing it more is because I just like I said before, I took that Madden thing where I would explain the jokes or explain what was going on, and now narrate the
Yep.
jokes as Morgan Freeman, just to have that. I always like that, just that uh, breaking the fourth wall. I've loved that. Like back when I was a kid watching
Yeah.
It's Gary Shandling show on,
I
yeah,
love
when he
Gary
would just
Shandling's
talk to
show.
the audience and like just let you know, not just talk to the audience, go, shh, come here, and then he would let you in on something. I just found that stuff because it was just so different at the time, and now they've evolved that to a smarter. I guess I shouldn't say smarter, a very a different way of doing it to whether it's The Office or Modern Family, of making it a documentary about something, and then you get to have confessionals talking to the camera, which serves the same purpose, but makes it organic to the
Yeah.
show as opposed to breaking. So you get to break the fourth wall without winking and nodding. You are pretty much doing it, and it doesn't. It's reality television based and reality based, so it makes it believable in those terms. But I always like that. I like anything where there's behind the scenes help of what's going on, and then they can say one thing, and then the opposite thing happens on the screen right after they say it. So I always found that very funny.
No, absolutely no, there's no doubt about it. So what's kind of consuming most of your show right now? What do you spend most of your time on? And do you always have is it always kind of fresh? Can you always just pull from current events and use that in the act, or is it something that's a little more difficult than that?
It's more and more now, more and more of that because I'm really trying to expand what I've been doing. I got in a rut about probably 5 to 10 years ago. I was just kind of doing the same thing over and over and over, and I wasn't enjoying myself as much. So now I really make it a point to try and create on stage constantly, and that's the shows I've been doing around the country in the last few months have been a lot of that. I bring guys who write with me. We go over the show a little bit after and talk in between, and
Mhm.
then try and create some stuff that I want to try and hit during the show, and then after the show, tweak and go what worked, what didn't, and then try and go for that's why I like the clubs. I mean, I don't feel like
Yeah.
that's great for the theater. I don't have as much fun in a theater. Yeah, I just like I like the club atmosphere. Like what you're doing at a club is it's more intimate, and I get to create a lot more on stage and get the immediate feedback. And plus, when you're doing a theater, it feels like people are at the theater. And when you're at a club, it's like, hey, I'm at a club. You know what? It's just a very
Yeah.
different feeling. So I like the club thing because I'm especially trying to create some stuff right now, and it gets my juices flowing that way. So
Yeah.
that's basically what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do next with my stand up. It's evolving somewhat. So that's what I'm trying. That's where I'm trying to go
Yeah.
here.
How has the because like Walton, Walton was incredible. So is Matt. I mean, they're all great. I don't see you do a lot of Barkley. Does that resonate with people?
Barkley's huge.
Is
Yeah,
is
Barkley's
Barkley
a
huge?
really
Okay.
yeah. Don't be ridiculous, Tommy. You don't know what you're talking about, knucklehead. Yeah, there's a lot. The best was I did it with him at an event for the Phoenix Suns charities years ago, and brought him up on. Well, I didn't bring him up on stage. We set it up for him to come up on stage, and he was supposed to come up like 30 minutes later, and he came up in the first 2 minutes. I'm like, "What are you doing up here?" So he's like, "I couldn't take it anymore. Everybody said I had to get up here and defend myself." Now then we go back and forth doing that's terrible, horrible, really, really bad. So he's one of the best with it, and people totally get into that. I mean, it's one of my favorites too because it's just I just get to say things are you know terrible. That's really, really bad. Come on, Tommy.
I mean, one thing I look forward to every year, and I think you've done it. Either you've released it around Christmas, or you do a new one. We do all the actors that do "Twas the Night Before Christmas." Is that some? Where did that idea come from? Because I think it's really fun, and for me, without just listening to it, I can tell who the actors are, and it's hilarious to listen to. But where'd that idea come from?
I used to do that as a kid. Not some with impressions, some with like just characters and whatever makes do silly voices. But I remember being in high school reading the Dr. Seuss as high school for we do. You know, we'd have the VHS camcorder out, and people would just yell out different voices, and I would just continue reading as the different voices. Some of them were impressions, but some of them, like I said, were just other silly voices. And I thought one day I was just like, you know what, I'll try this. I'll try this on for social media, and it worked. And people are like, you should do that all the time. I'm like, I guess, but it starts to feel like the same thing all the time to me. But I guess at the same, that's kind of what social media is, doing the same thing over and over.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. How have you adjusted to that world? Because for me, I'm not. I'm older. I don't get a lot of it. I mean, I get it, but I'm just not interested in it. But you have to be interested in it if you want to put your stuff out there and everything that goes along with it. But it is. It's just I didn't grow up with this. You didn't grow up with this, so it's probably the same for you. But how are you dealing with all the social media stuff?
It's actually hard for me because I just I like to have more of a try to get quality, and I think it takes me a while to get the quality.
Yeah,
And you see what everybody else does. There's just no need for quality. It's just throw everything out there at will, and you'll grow that way. I just hate people seeing me crappy all the time. I mean,
yeah,
there's and especially with impressions, it just gets really annoying because they're magic tricks. They're not. A lot of them I don't sound exactly like the person. It's kind of getting you to believe I'm acting like the person and sounding somewhat like them to make you buy into this little bit of a false reality. And social media is more about sound exactly like the person, and doesn't matter if I always thought the goal was to be funny, not to be a sound alike.
yeah.
And that was a big difference. I do have a tough time I think I'm the same as you, where it's like I get it, but if I were working for somebody and somebody were cutting up clips and putting it out there for me all the time, I think I'd have a much easier time than I have to go out there and just create stuff on my own. That's kind of what drives me nuts. Is okay, now I got to sit down and create this, even though it's not really what I want to do. I know this has a chance to work as opposed to just go out and have fun. It's the business as opposed to the show of it in show business, which is anybody now. It's just that's the other thing about social media. Anybody can put something out there. I remember when I was a top thing at YouTube before it got big. One of the most viewed videos I had was the Clinton Bush comparison, and it was like I think it was even number one on YouTube before was what it is now.
Yeah.
And there weren't even subscribers or anything like that. But I, I don't know. There was a time I didn't even know it was up there. My brother had put it up for me. So if I'm always putting stuff up to, hey, look at me, I just feel weird about going, hey, look at me. I'm 51
Yeah.
years old. That's kind
Yeah.
of what my issue is. And when I was younger, I did all kinds of stuff, like trying to get somewhere. Now I feel like I've gotten to a place where I just don't want, it's the progression of the Rocky movies. It's Rocky 3. Uh, yeah, I've lost the eye of the tiger.
Dun, dun. You wanna do stuff. You wanna do fun stuff. You wanna do stuff that makes you feel like you've done something, and then you just wanna move on. Like, that's
Yeah,
kind
and
of my whole thing. I wanna do it. I wanna make people laugh. I wanna entertain people, but then I don't wanna dwell in it. I don't really wanna be a part of the conversation and people talking about it. I just wanna do my stuff and kinda move
yeah,
on, but that's not
that
really the game you gotta
yeah,
play.
now it's like, what's behind the scenes? How did you make it? What were you
Yeah.
doing? What did you eat? I always wanted to be I always felt I was like wrong for the business. I mean, I could have done a lot and made a lot of different decisions in terms of, if I see people who make it like huge, 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 and I go, your whole life is that. And I guess you get to a point where you can relax and not care about it anymore. But those people are so driven, they want to keep doing it. They're the they actually have a Gary V type of mentality.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's, but I don't have that. I just like to go out there and do my
Yeah.
thing. And when I had my show on TBS, they wanted me to audition for some other sitcoms and be on some other stuff like full time. And the network didn't really want me to do it, but I was getting these, like, they were actually looking for Frank Caliendo types at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm doing this right now, and I have the Fox pregame show. Why would I want to do more? And I just didn't have that mentality of, I want to do eight things. And
Yeah.
but that's the mentality you have to have, because you don't know when it's going to go away. So everybody just does pretty much everything they can, and you go, that's just not for me. I'd rather help raise my family and see my kids.
No, I'm totally with you on that. All right, before I let you go, and I want to find out when you're coming to the Bay Area and give everybody maybe get you back on when you're going to be around the Bay Area. But I'm going to throw a curveball at you. I would like you, if possible, like Gruden and Madden for sure. If you want to
Yeah,
throw
I'm ready. I'm
Walton in
ready.
there, but I want you to argue. I want each of them to argue the merits of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and what jelly goes best on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I'll tell you what, man, I love peanut butter and jelly. You ever had that? You ever get the peanut butter and jelly in the same bottle? That's pretty good, man. Unbelievable. Who thought of this? How can we get little bread pieces? Maybe throw some croutons in there. Understand the world that we live in. I mean, but then you got people with a peanut allergy, so you need some sort of alternative. Maybe you got a soybean, not beans, smashed beans. So I mean, I tell you what, they're legumes still, man. Peanuts are in the legume family. And if you've got a peanut allergy, you're not eating peanut butter and jelly, anyways, are you, man? That's unbelievable. That even came up. The jelly that goes with everything, strawberry fields forever.
It's so funny you would say that because I always say the people that eat grape jelly are dead to me. It's strawberry jelly only. That's it. Come to find out, grape jelly is the number one jelly for
I'll
peanut
tell you
butter and
what,
jelly
man, I love
sandwiches.
grape jelly. You ever see the grape Syrah? That's pretty good. That's a good book, man.
Thank you, Steinbeck. Oh my goodness gracious. So when are you coming to the Bay Area?
I have no plans right now. I'm doing this podcast out of pure friendship, Tom.
Well, I appreciate that.
You know,
Hey, whatever happened
most
to our
most
guy that
most
went to
comedians, most comedians, including myself, usually only do stuff when we're going somewhere. But the only thing I got a couple things on the books coming up. I got Nashville, and that's the great thing about now. This, anybody can see this anywhere. Back in the day,
Yep,
I come on your radio show, and it was local only. Now, whatever, but.
yep,
FrankOnStage.com has all the information. I got
okay,
Nashville this summer. That's like July 23rd or something like that. And then I'm home in Phoenix area, Desert Ridge Improv. So Zany's in July in Nashville, Desert Ridge Improv in August in Phoenix area, and I know I have Chicago, Aurora, Illinois in October. Oh, Tampa. I'm gonna go see John Gruden down. We're gonna open up some
ooh,
boxes, man. Gonna do some great stuff. Last time I was there, actually, was at the FFCA when we're walking around. I'll tell you what, he was trying to get me to do what are the what are they called, cameos? Like, you ever do cameo, man? Like,
Yeah.
I can't, I feel weird about it and stuff like that. It's like, you gotta do cameos. I opened my inbox this morning. That's email, my inbox. I opened that up. I had 450 cameos I needed to do. Then he starts doing them. And he's got film behind him, right? He's just watching. He's like, I tell you what,
Yeah.
man, it might be your 50th birthday today, Ted, but I talking about 50. This is Walter Payton behind me, busting through the 50-yard line, man. Just like you're busting through the half century mark on your way to a cool 100. Um, so I'll be in Tampa as well. So frankonstage.com has all the information for all the shows. And you don't even have to learn how to spell Caliendo, which is just the letter C, the word alien, and the word do. But frankonstage.com for any of that
And
information.
next time you see Pash, tell him, get a rebound. Get a
Get a
rebound, Pash.
rebound. Throw it down.
Hey, I really appreciate it. It's been too long since I got a chance
Yeah.
to talk and catch up, and I appreciate the time. I know you're busy. If you're not, you can just say you're busy. That's cool
Yeah. I'm
too.
so super busy.
Frank, thank you so much. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. It's always fun chatting with you about comedy and all the good stuff that you do. So hopefully get a chance to do it in the future. Take care, and when you're ever in the Bay Area, let me know. Go and grab
Yeah.
something to eat.
Definitely. Sounds good, man.
Thanks, Frank.